Welcome to your sharing experience you're and as and dry. And in that moment, I saw what feels like this overarching lesson that I'm being given an opportunity to to see to see the structure of this within me, to see the role that it's been playing in my life, and if I so choose to dissolve it. And what was interesting in that moment is part of me was like, but it's so apparent, it's so obvious. I mean, the rape happened. Like it's like how could people not believe? Like it's just like this is the truth. I mean, this was my experience. This is literally what happened. And it is what happened. And so then I always, when I get into that place where I'm afraid that the jury might not believe me, I just tell myself, I know what happened. I know what happened. I know the experience I had. I know what he did. And that's enough. That's enough. And I mean, it's enough in the way of, obviously, I still felt and feel like I need to do my part in reporting it and going through this process. But regardless of the outcome, it's enough that I know what happened. I know the experience of that, even if no one else believes me. Okay, so what does this have to do with sort of everyday life? I've recently had a couple of experiences with other people where my experience of the situation and their experience of the situation was very different. And those moments tend to stay with me. It's like they're stuck. Like, and this is where I say, I feel like I'm being given a chance to dissolve this rigid structure I have, which is that my experience is wrong. It's not valid. It's broken. I shouldn't trust it. And that really, and I've never quite said those words, or I've never heard myself say those words in that way before. And this is what I want to offer everyone in this podcast, is to believe in their experience, to believe in it, that it's as valid as anyone else. That it has equal validity as any other person. which I think actually makes things very messy. I don't think there's nothing. But I think if we begin by invalidating our own experience, there's really no room for growth, as you can't even begin with experiencing yourself, experiencing this realm, this reality. I do believe there's far more than what we're experiencing, and that what we're experiencing is, a bit like a matrix. But I don't want to go there right now. I want to start with validating the experience that each of us has. And I guess the way I would describe it right now is, in a computer system, there can be many different programs running, and they can be doing very different things. And that's a bit how I see it, that each of us is a different program, and that we are doing and experiencing very different things within a massive framework of computer systems. And that although my experience isn't yours at all, and in fact may be somewhat contrary or contradictory to what you're experiencing, it's no less valid, it's no less true. And I really appreciate the insight that's come today, because one of the things I recently asked for in my life, from the quote powers that be, was to help me unify myself and my energy so I'm not at odds with myself anymore. And in the moment when I was talking to my friend this morning about the rape, and I suddenly realized it was literally the same thing that was happening in these other situations where I was so concerned that my experience isn't valid. And if I don't believe in my own experience as having the same validity as everyone else, I am at such immense odds with myself. And I want to begin at the place where I believe in the validity of my experience of myself, my experience of others as valid, my experience of life as valid. And I believe from that place where I give myself validity and value and honor my experience, I believe there'll be far more health and wholeness and integrity, and the ability to grow and change will also be greater. Meaning, by validating myself, I want to validate it in such a way that I don't become a stamp. I'm not stamping and saying this is me, but saying my experience is valid. And then from there, I may choose to change things so that I can have different experiences in life, so that I can experience myself differently. But I don't think that can happen until I fully validate my experience of myself, of life, and others, and allow myself to believe in the value of my experiences, that they bring a perspective that no one else has. And just because no one else is running on the same computer program as me, doesn't in any way to me. I'm looking for a word right now, and I don't know how other people feel. I don't know what other people's experience is, but I feel like I'm running a computer program that is more unique than others, meaning I don't seem to have the same experience as others. And that may or may not be true. So I'm not saying it is, but my experience of this computer program called Shelley is that it seems quite unique in that. And that because it's so different from others, many others that I experience, because it's so different, it's somehow wrong. I find solace in sort of the masses, and because I'm so different from, or because I feel so different, and I feel like my experience is so different than the masses. I don't have this sort of comfort of fitting in. So for me to find value in this somewhat dissimilar experience takes a lot of takes a lot of faith that whatever this is happening. I guess the words to come. I'm trying to censor myself now. There are times when I'm doing a podcast and I more and more I do not want to censor myself for the quote masses out there, even if the masses are one out there. What I would say, the other thing I've been asking for is to be really clear on my purpose. And I've never listened or read anything about those books called The Course in Miracles. I think that's what they're called. Never really been interested in them. They felt, from what little I've heard or read, they just felt a little too religious for me. But I happened upon a very short synopsis, a podcast last night. It was a very short synopsis. And the woman in it was talking about one of the lessons. I don't know very much about it, so I don't know if I'm even going to explain this right. But there was a lesson. I think it was lesson 257. And the lesson was, help me remember my purpose. Help me remember my purpose. And as I sat and listened and meditated last night, I just kept thinking that help me remember my purpose. I would say I've had moments where I've been clear about my purpose on my times where I knew it was most, my purpose in that moment was, to really focus in and raise my kids the best I could. Or obviously there were times where I focused everything on the trial, on preparing myself to go on the witness stand. So there have been moments where I had a clear directive about that moment of my purpose, but any overarching sort of purpose in life, I have not ever felt or known or seen. I feel like I'm getting closer, and that more and more my purpose is not going to be with the masses. It's interesting because I just paused to look around this room, and I've been curious when I set up this room in my new home at all the little animal statues carved from different stones. You can't tell what those are. There's little stone animals. I think if there were stone carvings of plants, I have those up there as well. I don't know if I'm here to serve humanity as much as I am here to bring awareness to humanity, that there's so much more than humanity, and that we've been overlooking it, overlooking the truth of so many things, that we're not the central computer program, we're part of this massive framework. I don't think I can do any of the things that fulfill my purpose here as long as I devalue and dismiss my own experience. It's almost like I'm putting bugs in my own computer program, so it can't work properly. And I put those bugs in there because I think my computer program should be like someone else's. So that's what I offer. It's just some insight again into my journey. In hopes that it helps you on your journey. Just understanding that when you dismiss or devalue your own experience, it's like putting a bug in a program and then wondering why it doesn't work well. I don't think it's a free-for-all to honor and value your experience. I think it's the beginning of the journey, meaning you're not the only one having an experience. But I would say the first step is in valuing and honoring your experience. And then learning how to value and honor others. I have a feeling that as I value and honor my own, it will be easier for me to value and honor others. And then also begin to step back and look at the 8 billion human programs running in this framework, as well as the trillions of unexplainable plants, animals, weather systems, rocks, who knows, right? So, and the reason, people are not, why does she share this stuff? Is anybody even listening? I don't know. And it doesn't matter. It's not the point. I have learned, and I said this before, and I just say it again, I learned that this is one of the things I do and I'm clear about. The power of my life is my voice. And my voice in not only speaking and singing and writing, but that I bring into being life. I bring life into being through my voice. That's my. And it's been interesting because a couple of weeks ago I talked about my mom and some of the programs I see that she handed down to me when I was young and how they played out in my life. And since speaking those out loud, I'm beginning to see them I'm beginning to see them more clearly, which is always the first step for me. And then I'm beginning to see them slowly start to crumble all away, which makes me very happy. So I speak this now, this latest insight, because this is my way of living my path and my purpose. And that is to speak my journey, share my wisdom, and then live that truth. And to continually understand that it's a journey and a process, and that arrival never exists. I don't. Well, because arrival, in order to arrive somewhere, you need to be in time and space. In order to arrive somewhere, you need to be in time and space. You need to be in time and space to arrive somewhere. And we will not be in time and space when that happens. And so there will be no arrival. There will be a being, or there will be something that we can't describe because it will be outside time and space. And I do have to say, I'm writing my book, which I'm still working on the first few chapters so that my son can read it, The 8 Temptations. But writing my book is teaching me so much about how beautiful time and space are. And a long time ago, I realized time and space are, for me, literal beings, as real as a bird, as real as any tree, as real as any person. They're beings of their own nature. And I see them kind of like our cosmic parents, the masculine and feminine being together for everything else to happen. And so when I begin to think of time and space as my parents, in ways, the parents of this reality, they're not the beginning. They're also the offspring of something else, which I get to play with. But thinking of time and space as parents, as guardians, here to hold a container for us to have this experience is really it's beautiful for me to experience, to feel that the care they have and the way they do hold us within their, what I consider very clear boundaries, and yet also with a lot of freedom. And I think that's a beautiful way to allow children to grow. And I think that's what we do. But there's no arriving, as we will be outside of time and space. And that's what I'm learning and exploring. I can't wait until I understand it well enough that I can put it into words to make sense. Maybe help you understand your journey. Much love to you, and wishing for you to have a bug-free program day where you allow your program to run as it is in this moment. As it is in this moment. Just allow yourself to experience truth of the program as it is. And I say truth because I don't think we need the words good and bad anymore. Just the truth of your program today. Knowing that we have the capacity to rewrite our program. But I think it begins a step before that for me, and that is just let my program let me be me. It's enough for now. Love you all. Bye-bye.